What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Oxtane, and oh boy, we have new expansion speculation or leaks on the internet. I want to go over basically my thoughts on the Age of Darkness 4chan leak post, and kind of just briefly bring up the post on screen and very quickly go over all these points and what I think to be true, what I think to not be true. So let's start off with the level squish. 50 in pre-patch, 60 once the expansion comes out. I think that's fairly believable. I think they probably will try to match like around 60 or 70. I don't know if they'll go as low as 60, but maybe like 70 or 80, something like that. New Tinker class with 2 specs, range damage and healing. Mechanomes, Gnomes, Draenei, Goblins, Guild Goblins, and Forsaken. And Mechanomes and Guild Goblins in 8.3 or 8.3.5. Well, my thing with this is that it seems kind of indecisive, right? Like the person making this post is supposed to be like a Blizzard employee, but it seems like they're not entirely certain of these things, like 8.3 or 8.3.5. Like, well, which is it? And I don't feel like if Blizzard plans something like that, I feel like they already have it set in stone what they would want to accomplish, right? Like when they would want to release this thing. The Tinker class, fairly believable. I mean, I remember years and years and years ago there was a quote unquote leak for a new expansion that also had the Tinker class in it. So I'm not too sold on that. I'm really not. And if it is something, it's like how people speculated Brewmaster for years before Miss Pandaria, like Tinker might be like a spec of like another new class or something, right? But overall, I don't really think it's like too far-fetched, but I don't think it's like super believable either. Now the story is just basically N'Zoth unleashes darkness over Azeroth, like Star Augur predicted in Nighthold. And it starts at the Thunder Bluff raid, which we'll get into in a sec. Interrupts the forces, tries to resurrect Cthulhu, and he tries to destroy the Bronze Dragonfly and turn Nozdormu into Murazan that we saw in the End Time dungeon. And Cthulhu basically turn the timeline back to where Cthulhu doesn't get defeated and everything like that, right? And then they say no real dragon focus other than bronze and infinite dragonflight. And then Xal'atath, the little shadow blade, will play a major role as the main antagonist of the old gods, some kind of evil neutral. She commands us to captivate and imprison Sylvanas instead of killing her. Okay, so overall with the story, I think there are some believable aspects. Like obviously N'Zoth, I don't think is just gonna die like in the last patch of BFA and that shit's gonna be over, right? Like I really don't think so. Blizzard has done over really the last 10-11 years, they have transitioned expansion plot points to a new expansion, right? Like they do that all the time. So N'Zoth to me is kind of that link, right? Like I think he may be the final boss of BFA, we don't know for sure, but I don't think he'll die, right? Like it's like Ajara, like there was a certain element where you just didn't necessarily think he would die, right? Like it just kind of shows up. So Siege of Thunderbluff thing, it's been like a meme, right? Like it's been a meme. The Jaina Thrall cinematic where they're all sitting there and you know they're like, oh, Sylvanas will come for Thunderbluff and everything. Like I feel like Blizzard doesn't have great story writing, okay? They really don't most of the time, but I feel like in this case they're trying to divert our awareness of the situation. I will give them at least that much credit, I hope anyway, where they're gonna bring up a plot point like that. People are gonna see Sylvanas' trajectory over the expansion and say, wow, this is just gonna be MOP 2.0, this sucks, this is lame, and everything like that. And I don't think it'll be that predictable. They may go with Sylvanas and they may involve some kind of attack on Thunderbluff, but I don't think it's going to be Siege of Thunderbluff the raid and Sylvanas is the last boss and it's just like Garrosh and then we imprison her instead of killing her and all this stuff. Like I just don't really see that happening. I think it's possible that Sylvanas might live it depends, like maybe they could do some kind of old god corruption like the whole time on her or something, right? Like there's a lot of things that they could play around with, but hopefully they save Sylvanas' character. Partial world revamp. So unlocks at the pre-quest of the new expansion for new players. It'll be the same until they do the pre-quest level 50. Starting with Kalimdor, Ungoro, Pharros, Desolus, and Mulgore will be high-level zones. Silithus will be the end-game zone akin to Suramar. That has a question mark next to it for some reason. Eastern Kingdoms will be revamped later on with something special planned for Gilneas, Tearsfall, and Plaguelands. Hint towards the old god under Tearsfall. Okay, so this one I think is kind of out there, which might actually be a good sign in terms of a leak, because if everything's super predictable, you know it's bullshit, right? Like, there's no way. So this is kind of out there, but I don't know if it's out there enough. Obviously, I think they will probably do a level squish, maybe to level 60, to akin to mirror it to classic WoW. Like, I think that's fairly predictable, right? However, I don't think that they're going to go the Cataclysm route and have all these new level zones just kind of spread out and like just plastered in the world, right? Like that's how Cataclysm was with its zones, and it was kind of a unique idea, but it really wasn't like that great of an idea either. So I don't know how believable that is. Silithus as an endgame zone, I mean, again, it depends on like what happens with Magni and the sword and everything, right? So I mean, maybe I could see Silithus being like a big deal, but I don't know. And Mulgore, I mean, again, if you believe the Thunderbluff thing, I can believe that maybe they would turn it into a zone kind of like Arathi or Darkshore, where it's like a war front, and it's updated with rares and everything. Like they could do that, but who really knows? So overall, I don't really think I believe the old world revamp. I mean, maybe slightly, like they do revamp old zones like they've done with the Warfront zones, or a little bit like the Barrens and Miss Pandaria, little small things like that where they update the world, which I actually really do like. Makes the world feel a little bit more progressive and real, so I do like that a lot, but I'm not sure if that's something that they're going to do on like a grander scale with all these zones and making them like end game zones, right? Like I'm not really sure if I believe that. Then it has a list of new features. The Essence system basically transcending the expansion, being expanded upon. Obviously it's similar to Glyphs, right? In its current state, 5 sockets, 2 passive traits, 2 for active skills, 1 ultimate ability. I think that could be cool. I have been saying for a long time that I don't like the expansion specific systems, right? Like I wish they had expanded the artifact system from Legion and had those talent points and other things maybe revamped and changed and go into the next expansion and expand upon them, right? It's not like in the past in Burning Crusade that everything you got in vanilla towards progressing your character just got wiped out for some new arbitrary system. Like things carried over. So I'd really love to have something like this. I don't think it's super out of the realm of possibility. I think the Essence system expanding beyond BFA is pretty believable. Shaping of the talent system, offensive and defensive talents per bracket at level 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can pick 1 offensive plus 1 defensive per bracket. Okay. I am a believer that the talent system needs to be revamped, but ultimately, I'm not sure how super believable it is. Like maybe having the 8 every 10 levels, especially if they're scaling down the level, right? But ultimately, like defensive and offensive talents, I think would be a good choice, because there are some brackets in the current talent system that are pretty much just defensive or PvP oriented and don't really have like that much of like an impact on your overall gameplay, right? So I think there is more need for like some parity in the current talent system and have some more cool and interesting choices in there. Obviously I prefer the old talent system with the talent trees, but I don't think that's going to come back. And so if they revamp the current talent system to this way, I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. But again, not sure how super believable it is. New Conquest Point system at max level. Account-wide, different bonuses. You can spend points on more execute damage, higher run speed once it's unlocked for all characters that are level 10. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like another like external power increase, right? Like the artifacts have been so, again, I think it's kind of believable, but why would they do that with conquest points? Like, unless that's replacing like PvP talents, which I could see, because I don't really think PvP talents are very good. So maybe if they did some kind of level system separate from the honor system that maybe had like these talents and other things that you could do, I think maybe that would be cool for PvP, right? So not super like out of the realm of possibility there either necessarily. And then release date planned for Q4 2020. That seems like pretty obvious, right? And then it has some points on BFA's ending, so we'll just go over this again. New heritage armor and models in 825. I don't know what new models means, but okay. Deal most of the faction at the aftermath. Events of the Eternal Palace. Okay, makes sense in 825. Final patch 8.3 set in Mulgore, centered around Sylvanas plan to attack Thunderbluff. Mulgore turned into a max level zone like Mechagon and all that. Okay. Sylvanas' final boss, Nathanos, will aid her. Nathanos will be killed. Sylvanas will be severely wounded, captivated by her sisters. Shortly before the fight, N'Zoth's minions enter the battlefield. Turns everything dark. No schedule. Okay. So, to me, I think, again, this is a little bit too predictable. Now, like I said, I could see them turning Mulgore into, like a zone like Mechagon or the Warfront zones with rares and world quests and all that. Like, I could see that happening. We might be trending in that direction. But again, and maybe it does involve something with Thunderbluff, right? But it's not necessarily the Siege of Thunderbluff. Again, I think the whole thing is a little bit too predictable. I don't know about the final boss being Sylvanas. I mean, I think it's possible, right? But I think it's a little too predictable. Getting captured. I mean, again, it's literally just Garrosh 2.0. Like, it's not even a meme at that point. It's just Garrosh 2.0. And I'm not so sure about that. Now, the N'Zoth minion thing, I think is kind of interesting. If you've done the Torn Heritage Armor quest, there is a thing where basically these like spirits invade Mulgore. Now it's completely unrelated. Like it's not even related to this, but there's like an effect where Mulgore becomes like all dark and like everything, and it looks super cool. I'll put some screenshots that I took while doing mine. And so an effect like that looks super rad, and if they did something like that, I'd be pretty happy about that. So overall, a little too predictable. Not quite sure. And then obviously they say Mechanomes and Gill Goblins coming 835, and not totally sure about that. And then factions won't merge, but there will be some kind of like neutrality or interfactional group play. I think that would be a good idea. But again, like everything in this leak seems a little too predictable. Nothing's super out there. So, and leaks I've read in the past, again, like I remember reading like 4 or 5 years ago about a possible Tinker class in WoW, right? So, I don't really think it's there. I think we're trending towards like a N'Zoth / like dragon aspect expansion. I will do a speculation video here in probably like a week or two. Look for that, a full in-depth like next expansion speculation video, just like the good old days. And so that's kind of my plan. But yeah, overall, I don't really think these leaks are real. Like, I think some things might be real. A lot of leaks, whether actually leaks or not, a lot of them predict enough stuff that some of it becomes true. Like, I think some things in this leak will be true and accurate, but I think most of it will not be. So overall, I'm not actually really sure that it's a leak. It's probably just someone trying to stir up some cool ideas and discussion, which I'm all for anyway, right? Like, it's cool to speculate on these things. That's what got me into YouTube in the first place. So overall, I don't really think it's super believable. And we'll just have to wait and see. You know, I mean, it's obviously going to be announced at BlizzCon. There's no way it's not. So we will see, guys. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. Make sure to leave some comments down below. Tell me what you think about these leaks and how believable they are. And again, a full in-depth on both the concept of Age of Darkness and whatever I think the next expansion will be is coming up. A full in-depth analysis and speculation, everything like that. But I just want to give my 2 cents on the forum post. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate y'all watching, and I have more content coming out very soon. Until next time, guys, see ya.